I'm Sarah Kessler. I report on startups for Mashable. And it's a great honor to be introducing David Karp, who is the founder of Tumblr. It's a blogging site that you might have heard of. David left high school when he was 15 to run technology at urbanbaby.com until CNET Networks acquired it in 2006. After that, he spent 2 years at the helm of his development firm, Davidville, before his team launched the publishing platform Tumblr. 4 years later, Tumblr is home to more than 18 million blogs and is one of the most well-known social media platforms on the internet. Please help me welcome David.
Hi, everyone. So just real quick, you got my bio, I think, already, but just quickly I'll run through and say that, so I grew up sort of when AOL was in its prime, and we had all of these neat new social tools to play with. All of my friends and I were running home at 3:30 to all jump into the same chat room together, and there was back-channel gossip going on over instant messenger, and there were images going back and forth between email, because that was the only way to move images around. And I kind of grew up with this fascination around the sort of community interaction that product design could sort of encourage and enable. And this is extended to what I've spent most of my life doing, and I've had a few really fortunate opportunities that caught me off the ground kind of early, and I actually dropped out of high school to start building websites really pretty young, and that eventually led into a little consulting business that I had, which after a few years turned into Tumblr, which started in 2007. So real quick, I just want to jump back to 2007 to talk a little bit about what the state of the blogosphere was at the time. And I had been really kind of fascinated with blogs for a couple years. They were something that I really, really wanted. I tried all of these platforms. And if you remember 2007, that was really the first time that I think blogs were getting mainstream, not only mainstream attention, but this idea of the personal blogger, or even a person, an individual becoming a professional blogger, building up their own audience, was sort of this up-and-coming idea and sort of this inspirational idea to a lot of people. And in 2007, Technorati, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Technorati, but they index all the blogs on the internet, and they've published some really interesting stats around that data. They published this really interesting stat that showed that the number of registered blogs year over year was actually doubling. And in 2007, in 2006, more than 170 million blogs were registered. Awesome, except that the other piece of data that went along with that was that the number of actively maintained blogs, those are blogs that were actually being posted to, was actually flattening out. So I looked at this and thought, geez, this is something like I really care about. I totally understand why people are signing up for these things, but why aren't they actually doing it? And it kind of got me back to, all right, why blogs? Why are these people signing up for blogs when there are all these spectacular tools out there for them to be using for expressing themselves online? And if you look at the spectrum of tools for this right now, I'd say that they're really kind of very narrow. Right? Anybody can post pretty much anything to their Facebook page, but at the same time, nobody's actually proud of their Facebook page. It's not a place where they can truly express themselves. It's not a place where they can create an identity that they're proud of. And that's, I think, the key thing that I wanted to hit on quickly today, was that on Tumblr, what we started to set up is a place where millions of people are creating these things that they're really proud of. Here's my blog, and I'm on Facebook as well, and most of my Tumblr posts go to Facebook, and I'm still checking the thing every few days. But on my blog, which is davidslog.com, it's on my own domain name, it's a design that I came up with, it's text that I crafted. It's stuff that I really, really care about. It's stuff that I curate, it's stuff that I design, and it's stuff that I choose to share and put out there so that when people Google me, when people go to my domain name, when people go to the address on my business card, if I had a business card, this is what they'd see. It's something that I'm actually really kind of proud to show off. And I think it's that identity that's a really sort of human idea, and something that very few tools, very few people are really thinking about, and yet I think it's perhaps one of the most important, most interesting kind of untapped voids on the web, and it's really what we try and spend all of our time thinking about. And what identity really means to us is, first, well, I think in its entirety, total freedom of expression, right? It's your room growing up as a teenager, right? You can kind of do whatever you want. It might have come with some furniture you don't really like, but you can cover it in your stickers, you can put your posters all over the wall. That is really, truly your space. And I think total freedom of expression, at least on the web, comes down to two things, or at least as it pertains to Tumblr. It's the ability to post anything, and it's the ability to customize everything about the way it's presented. So this is posting anything. So when we launched there were 5 of these buttons. Now there are 7 of these buttons, and those are just forms for posting media that make posting to Tumblr as easy as uploading a photo to Flickr, uploading a link to Delicious, uploading a video to YouTube, etc. And then customizing everything is pulling a template from a theme directory of thousands of beautiful user-generated themes, using a whole bunch of advanced controls to customize everything from the fonts to the graphics involved to how many columns there are, all sorts of stuff. All the way to if you're like a serious nerd and you want to tear apart the whole thing, we let you, if you want, you can take out the Tumblr branding, you can create something that looks totally original. You can put ads on it if you want. This is like totally your space. When we say total freedom of expression, we really mean it. This is your page to do anything that you want with. And what that really led to, very quickly actually, because it definitely didn't exist in 2007 and really still doesn't exist today, this led to a huge surge of these really creative webheads showing up and creating these beautiful, unique things because it was so easy to do it. And it was an opportunity for them to really show off what kind of special, neat stuff that they could create. And in doing that, they created these identities that they were really, really proud of. And increasingly over time, that led to a network of, I'm sorry, they didn't get my font in here, so it doesn't look quite as nice as this slide could. But over time, this actually led to a whole network of people sharing things that they really care about with identities on Tumblr that they really, really care about and are really proud of. And what Tumblr looks like today, we turned 4 years old in February, is 18 million bloggers on Tumblr who are generating 870 million posts per month. Those posts draw in 6.5 billion impressions, growing at about a 250 million impressions a week. 6.5 billion impressions from 80 million visitors. And separately from that even, inside our community, there are little sub-communities generally built around geography, built around creative interests, where whole little kind of collectives, or I don't know what you call them, groups, are actually getting together, and real friendships, real connections are happening, real collaborations, like business partnerships, all sorts of things, relationships, a few marriages, have actually come out of this community where people, again, are creating identities, representing themselves in a way that they're really proud of and they feel really, truly represents them. And one of the ways that we've seen that surface is every week, there are 100 Tumblr meetups. That means like every day there are dozens of these Tumblr meetups happening all over the world. So that was something where literally somebody would post to their blog and say, hey, is anybody who's following me happen to be in Chicago or in Buenos Aires? And a few of their followers would go, oh my God, I had no idea you lived in Buenos Aires. Yeah, I'm here too. Let's go hang out at this bar. And they would meet up and they would make friends, and it turned into a thing. And it's now something where actually it's become such a sort of phenomenon on our network that we send out meetup kits to anybody who wants to have a meetup of a few dozen Tumblr people. So we give them stickers and things to hand out and stuff like that. But this all, I think, really stems from this notion of identity and creating something online that you're really, truly proud of. And I think that that's a space that, for all of these tools to get your tweets and the photos of what you're eating and your the photo dump off of your camera, a place where you can really create something that represents you, that looks like you, that has the stuff that you really, really care about and that you're proud to have people see. Particularly in an age where you can go on Google and dig up all sorts of stuff on people in a really kind of disorganized way. Having something that shows up there, when you Google me, the first thing you'll get is my blog that has 4 years worth of posts that I'm really, truly proud of. Maybe not every single one, but collectively, it's something that I really, truly feel represents me, something that I'm in complete control of, and something that I really kind of love for people to see. It only makes me happier to know that people are reading my blog. And I think that's an important idea and a very human idea, and something that we're going to see have an even bigger place in the spectrum of tools that really focus more on the individual little pieces of media and the virality of them rather than the people behind them. So with that, I was really hoping to turn this into a Q&A pretty quickly for selfish reasons. That's the stuff that I think is most fun, that I certainly get the most out of. And I'd love to, from this audience, certainly hear some of the things that you know about Tumblr, want to know about Tumblr, that I can maybe explain better, or that you think we need to be doing better, certainly. So with that, I don't know if somebody with a microphone was going to be running around. Thank you. No? Oh, okay. Yes.
And actually, definitely, I'll open up to take questions from the audience. But first, I was curious how you've talked about how Tumblr has been a space for people to kind of develop their own personal identities. How is that translating to helping brands establish their identities, and how are you helping them do that?
So we never had brands in mind when we first set out. So this was a tool that we were building for us first, that we started to open up to more people, more people, I should say, who were like us. And as they started to give us feedback and started to find interesting ways of using it, we started to understand that better, and we started to build tools that were maybe more accessible for more people. We never really intuitively understood how brands would use Tumblr. So the most interesting use cases we've seen of brands on Tumblr have been people who got really creative, really already understood what was going on Tumblr, and showed us some brilliant use case. They showed us that they could apply their brand in a way that really supported the individuals who were there expressing themselves. But generally, I mean, the important thing that I want to get across here is that we didn't really design that. It was brands showing up and showing us an interesting way to use this tool and to leverage this network that we, frankly, I don't think ever would have imagined on our own. One example of that, though, would be brands applying their brand in a way that offers a certain level of vindication to those bloggers. So I'll jump back to my blog real quick. And when one of my posts goes up, so as an example, one of a post during my travels, I'm wearing an outfit I'm kind of proud of, and Vogue likes my post or reblogs that photo because they with a little giving me credit and saying, this was David Karp's outfit while he was traveling here. That's like an extraordinarily rewarding and vindicating feeling for me that gets me attached to the Vogue brand in a way that I really wouldn't otherwise be. It makes me aware of them in a way I might not have been that day, but it also really makes me go, oh my God, Vogue likes me. They touched me. They reached out and touched me. It's like a really powerful effect that they can have in the community where people are literally posting screenshots of Vogue liked me with the Vogue logo right there and the whole thing. So that's like something really pretty brilliant that we never would have imagined would be a thing. So one example of brands teaching us how to do it.
And then another thing is you talked about the strong community between other bloggers that other blog sites don't necessarily have. What are some structural things in the site that you think help encourage the kind of community you want that maybe other sites or other brands can implement in their sites?
So one thing that I think helps make people feel freer in what they express, in really like pouring their heart and souls into what they do on Tumblr, is that we've really tried to design the network, so all the places where our users interact with each other, and more importantly, all the ways where someone on Tumblr gets feedback, really design those to optimize for positivity, which is a weird idea, but that's a real product discipline of ours, is the notion that anytime anybody's getting any feedback, we really want it to be positive. Critical feedback can be okay, but negativity is something that we want to push out. So we do that by getting rid of most of the vectors for negativity. Comments are a really big one. So just not encouraging, a bit any opportunity for somebody to drive by and leave nasty hates, call someone fat or say that their photos suck or that they should have done it. Instead, if I want to say something about something that you posted, I have to reblog it onto my blog, where if I'm saying something nasty, you'll get a notification when I take your thing and write a commentary about it on my blog. But if I'm going to say something super nasty, it's going on in my space. It's only messing up my identity and making me look like an asshole. And if you want that to go away, you just click block and you never have to see my stuff again. So stuff like that where, and actually one more example is, there's no messaging a user on Tumblr, but you can ask them a question. And the stuff that is nasty really stands out in that format because it's really hard for one, there are actually two features. One is you can ask a blogger a question. The other is a blogger can ask a question and get answers. The latter, it's hard to flame someone when they're asking a question, right? I want to know where the best cupcake place to eat in Brooklyn is while I'm visiting, and it's hard for people to go you're an asshole, you're an idiot, you're whatever the horrible shit is that they say. Where a comment box opens you up to that. It's really easy to spot. It's even easy to algorithmically spot those people who are just being nasty when it's supposed to be an answer to a question. So we employ a lot of tools like that and a lot of kind of product design like that to just kind of keep that negativity at bay and leave lots of opportunities, things like answering questions, liking posts, reblogging posts, lots of opportunities like that for feedback that's actually really positive and supportive. And one really cool stat I like is both these numbers move a lot, but the average interactions per post, which really means comments per post, on WordPress.com is usually 0.8 to 1 comment per post. Tumblr, that's actually 3.5 interactions per post, and that's a mix of likes, reblogs, answers, photo replies, etc. So something I'm kind of proud of.
So did anybody else have a question?
I'll just yell from here if that's okay. But it's easy to see how a successful vision kind of came along at a good time, you know, with a certain trend, like what you were explaining with blogging. And it is really cool how you express that it's about, you know, for Tumblr, it's about giving people the ability to create a site with free expression, something they can be really proud of. But I'm curious, because visions can take a while to define and focus, so how long into the development of Tumblr did that vision really seem unified and strong and like, okay, we've got it, we know exactly why we're valuable, why we're another blogging platform that's actually worthwhile?
So I would say we got very introspective when we were thinking about raising money, because we were still a little consulting business. So Tumblr was something we were doing on the side. And once we got it going, and once we saw how people were using it, we realized, you know, this is actually very different. In a world where there are only ever a few big networks, right? There's only, you know, a few Twitters and Facebooks and Flickrs and those things. None of them seem to be really giving people the ability to express themselves like this. We thought this was something that would really, that there was room for something like this to grow, and it wouldn't step on anyone else's toes. This was like some new great stuff that we can invent. That was the first time we sort of started thinking about it that way and really started to focus in on creative expression and tools for identity. We went through it, I would say, yeah, 2 or 3 real, I don't know, they were epiphanies more than anything, where we went from tools for individuals to all of a sudden, oh my God, there are all these awesome blogs on Tumblr that we'd love to find. Like, there's just like this cool stuff going on all over the place, to then thinking about it as a network where we need to build tools for discovery. So now all of a sudden, we're not just a CMS, but we're actually like a network that aggregates stuff. To the point where we realized there was so much stuff and so many people that we wanted to follow, and the normal RSS tools and all these things weren't really good for aggregating that we said, oh, well, shit, our CMS is already really good at presenting this content. What if we actually roll other people's content into that and make it a dashboard, make it a media thing where you like pull in all of this interesting content from across our network? And that was, I would say, the second big sort of pivot we went through, realizing that, you know, oh my God, there's something else much bigger that we could do here. And that today, that dashboard is 75% of our traffic. That's 75% of the 6.5 billion impressions that we get.
Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. You in the back.
So would you consider, I guess it's a 2-part question, would you consider posters to be your closest threat, and then in terms of microblogging, moving forward out of it, and then my question to that is, if you change any of your processes in terms of adopting you could mail in stuff to them instead of having to go in and figure out their interface?
I didn't quite catch the last
So the second piece is that Posterous' approach was, rather than have to figure out how to use our service, if you know how to email.
Well, wait. Well, we did that first. We copied that from Flickr, and then Posterous kind of ran with it. I mean, Posterous didn't go anywhere. I would say we've had 4 or 5 direct competitors emerge. Posterous was probably the least like a direct competitor, because they're just, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the functionality closely mimics WordPress more than it mimics Tumblr. But no, we've had, like, there was Yahoo Meme and OnSugar and a bunch that I'll forget now. I mean, I don't know. I don't really, we don't think about it terribly much, but we've maybe been fortunate that none of the people who have ever emerged and really painted a target on us have gone anywhere. But I would say, for the most part, all of the ones we've seen like that have just had their sights set on something so different from what we really cared about that I don't know whether or not they failed for other reasons, but they certainly, I don't think, ever came close to the type of stuff that we were, I don't know, thinking about or trying to do. So,
Right.
But no, we did the email stuff first.
Well, and the last question, anyone? Okay, well, I have one.
Yeah.
So after you've accumulated this huge user base, how are you thinking, what are some things you're considering when you look at monetizing it in order to not alienate or destroy the camaraderie that you've built up?
So really 2 things. One, both we really believe, and I think have started to prove, can be very complementary to the community rather than disruptive, rather than ads that pull people out of Tumblr. The first one is just promotion. Promotion, or visibility, I should really say, is hugely sought after on Tumblr. We've gone through many iterations of our directories and discovery tools. We found that we can be, very good or very bad at certain times at kind of siphoning traffic or like moving traffic around Tumblr. We're getting increasingly good at it, and as we get better and better at it, the ability for somebody who's brand new on the network but starting to prove themselves to pay a little bit to like jump up to the top. When we have offered that ability before, those features sell out immediately. To the point where they get almost unusable. So that was the last version of the directory, which we since took out just because it was too much work to manage. So we're in the middle of designing our new directory, which we'll be launching within the next couple weeks. And that will start to have smarter vectors for people to pay a few dollars here or a lot of dollars here to jump themselves up to the top and get that visibility that they're craving if it's so worth it to them. The stuff that we're really, really excited about, though, are marketplaces. So much like the App Store, which is this spectacular complementary relationship between developers who are there to make some money, and they know that the path to doing that is to build really great stuff that's popular with these users, show up, do their best work, give it to this community of people who is thrilled that they get to pay 99 cents for this thing that these guys poured their heart and souls into to develop. And tons of money flows back and forth. Everybody's thrilled. We've done that with our theme garden right now. We're just beta testing that with, I think, it's about a dozen designers. A couple of those designers are making, like individuals who just design themes for Tumblr, a couple of those designers are making north of like $300,000 a year and have quit their design jobs to focus on building stuff for the Tumblr community full time. Our community is thrilled because they have, if they're willing to put $10 or $50 into the system, they get something rarer that is a design that fewer people get on the web. They're much more customizable. They look really great. Most of them are just spectacularly designed things. And they have the privilege of having access to those things because there's this community of developers or designers showing up to work on this stuff because there's a real monetary incentive for them to do so. That stuff's pretty cool. And we've started to prove that with the theme garden. We're going to start opening that up in the next few months. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.